For our next song, my maid Emily will perform,
announced the millionaire bride, curling her lips into a cruel smile as she pointed toward the pregnant maid standing timidly in the corner. The banquet hall fell silent. Emily's face turned pale with fear as she was forced to step onto the stage. What she didn't know was that this public humiliation would soon become her employer's downfall, and the beginning of her own unexpected dream. But before we dive in, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Just because you work here doesn't mean I have to look at you, Victoria said coldly as she passed Emily in the hallway. Try to stay out of my sight today. Emily Carter lowered her eyes and stepped aside, one hand instinctively moving to her rounded belly. 6 months pregnant, she found it harder each day to remain unnoticed inside the vast Adams estate. Yes, Miss Hale, she murmured softly. When Victoria's heels clicked away down the marble corridor, Emily took a deep breath and continued pushing her cleaning cart. Morning sunlight streamed through the tall windows, catching floating dust in its glow, the same dust she would need to wipe away before Victoria returned. At 28, Emily had never imagined herself as a live-in maid. Once, her dreams had revolved around Austin's music scene, not scrubbing toilets in a Chicago mansion. Life had changed after Jason Walker, the charming musician she had dated briefly, vanished the moment he learned she was expecting his child. "Emily, there you are," called a friendly voice behind her. Anthony Ruiz, the head chef, approached with his usual warm smile. His crisp white uniform was spotless, like everything he managed in the kitchen. "I made extra breakfast. You need to eat more," he said, handing her a plate of toast, eggs, and fruit. "Thank you, Anthony. You didn't have to do that." "Of course I did. You're eating for two now." He nodded toward her stomach. "How are you feeling today?" "Tired," Emily admitted, "but fine. Just 2 more days until the wedding, then maybe things will calm down." Anthony's smile faded slightly. Maybe, or maybe the new Mrs. Adams will be even more demanding. They both knew that was probably true. Robert Adams, their 40-year-old employer and tech millionaire, was about to marry Victoria Hale, a former model from a prominent Boston family. While Robert treated the staff with respect, Victoria saw them as furniture that happened to move. "I'd better finish the East Wing before she comes back," Emily said, taking a quick bite of toast. "Take care of yourself," Anthony called as she walked away. "That baby needs a strong mom." Emily spent the rest of the morning dusting and vacuuming the mansion's East Wing, preparing the guest rooms for the out-of-town visitors. Her back ached, but she pushed through, knowing the overtime pay would help her buy the crib her baby would soon need. As she cleaned a guest bathroom, she heard Victoria's sharp voice echo from the next room. Emily slowed her movements, trying to stay silent. "No, Julia, I said white roses in that room, not pink. Are you trying to ruin everything?" Emily recognized the second voice. It was Julia Reed, the wedding planner who had been rushing in and out of the house for weeks. "I'm sorry, Miss Hale, the florist must have. I don't care about excuses. Fix it. This wedding costs $2 million. It needs to be perfect." Emily winced at Victoria's tone, feeling sympathy for Julia, who was clearly doing her best. After finishing the bathroom, Emily stepped into the hallway. As she bent to pick up a towel, a sharp pain shot through her back. She straightened slowly, resting one hand against the wall. "Are you all right?" a deep male voice asked. Startled, she turned to see Robert Adams standing a few feet away, concern written on his face. "Yes, Mr. Adams. Just a little back pain, nothing serious. You should take breaks when you need them," he said, frowning. "Your health comes first." "Thank you, sir. I will." He hesitated for a moment, as if he wanted to say more, then nodded and walked down the hall. Emily watched him go, grateful for his kindness. With his salt and pepper hair and glasses, Robert looked every inch the successful businessman who had built his fortune developing security software from scratch. During her lunch break, Emily sat in the staff lounge and called her doctor. "Your appointment is confirmed for next Tuesday at 2, the receptionist said. Dr. Harris wanted to schedule another ultrasound. "Thank you. I'll be there," Emily replied, noting it in her phone. After lunch, the mansion buzzed with activity. Florists brought in more arrangements. Caterers discussed final menu details with Anthony. Victoria's voice echoed as she directed everyone from room to room. While Emily cleaned the windows in the main living room, she heard the front door open and a warm, elegant voice call out, "Hello? Anyone home?" Margaret Adams, Robert's mother, entered carrying a small suitcase. Her gray hair was perfectly styled, and she wore a simple but expensive blue dress. "Emily, dear, how wonderful to see you," Margaret said kindly. "How are you feeling? The baby must be quite active now." "Yes, Mrs. Adams. Especially at night when I'm trying to sleep," Emily replied with a smile. Unlike Victoria, Margaret had always treated her with genuine warmth. She seemed to understand that circumstances, not lack of ambition, had led Emily to this job. "Mother, you're early," Robert said as he came in and hugged her. "I wanted to help with last-minute details," Margaret explained, "and make sure you're not getting cold feet." Something flickered across Robert's face so briefly that Emily almost thought she'd imagined it before he smiled. "No cold feet here." Later that afternoon, Emily worked in Robert's study, dusting shelves filled with books on technology and business. The room felt calm compared to the chaos elsewhere in the house. Without realizing it, she began to hum softly, a habit from her days performing in Austin cafes. The tune was one she had written after Jason left, about rising from life's hardest moments. Lost in the melody, she didn't notice Robert standing in the doorway, listening. When she turned and saw him, she jumped slightly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Adams, I didn't hear you come in." "Please don't apologize," he said gently. "You have a beautiful voice, Emily." Her cheeks warmed. "Thank you. I used to sing a lot before," she gestured vaguely to her belly and surroundings. "You should sing more," Robert said. "Talent like that shouldn't be hidden." Neither of them noticed Victoria standing in the hallway, watching them with narrowed eyes. Her manicured nails dug into her palms as she saw Robert smile at Emily. "Robert," Victoria called sharply, making them both turn. "Your tuxedo just arrived, you need to try it on immediately." "Of course," Robert said, offering Emily a polite nod. "Thank you for your hard work." As he left with Victoria, Emily returned to dusting, unaware that her soft humming had just planted a dangerous seed in Victoria's mind. That evening, while the staff prepared dinner, Emily helped Anthony arrange appetizers. "2 more days of this wedding madness," Anthony said quietly. "Then maybe we can breathe again." "I hope so," Emily replied. "I really need to start saving more for when the baby comes." Anthony nodded toward the dining room where Victoria's voice carried as she discussed seating arrangements with her planner. "Be careful around her, Emily. I don't like the way she looks at you." "What do you mean?" Emily asked. "Like you're a problem she wants to get rid of," Anthony said quietly. "Just watch your back." As Emily carried water glasses toward the dining room, she overheard Victoria speaking on the phone in the hallway. "Don't worry about the singer situation," she said, her voice calm and deliberate. "I think I've found the perfect solution to multiple problems at once." Emily continued walking, unaware that those words would soon change her life forever. She couldn't shake them from her mind as she prepared for the rehearsal dinner at the Riverside Country Club. While arranging freshly pressed tablecloths, she kept thinking about the singer situation Victoria had mentioned. The country club sparkled with lights as staff hurried to get everything ready. Emily helped the catering team set up trays of appetizers, her pregnant belly making the work more difficult than usual. "You should sit down for a minute," one of the waiters suggested when he noticed her wobble slightly. "I can't," Emily replied, rubbing her lower back. "There's too much to do." Across the room, Victoria stood greeting early guests in a sleek blue dress, her smile flawless as she introduced herself to Robert's business associates. She looked every bit the perfect bride-to-be, giving no hint of the coldness Emily knew too well. "Emily, could you fix the flower arrangement on table 3? It's crooked," called Julia Reed, the wedding planner, rushing past with her clipboard. Emily nodded and moved toward the table. As she adjusted the flowers, she noticed Robert introducing an older woman to the guests. "This is my Aunt, Eleanor," Robert said warmly. "She came all the way from Boston for the wedding." When Robert saw Emily, he brought his aunt over. "Aunt Eleanor, this is Emily Carter, the person who keeps everything running smoothly at the house." "It's lovely to meet you," Emily said politely. "Robert tells me you're expecting," Eleanor said kindly. "When is the baby due?" In about 3 months, Emily replied, surprised by her gentle tone. Well, make sure you're taking care of yourself, dear. Robert smiled at the exchange, but the moment was cut short when Victoria appeared beside him, linking her arm through his. Robert, the Johnsons just arrived, she said smoothly. We should go greet them. She pulled him away without so much as a glance at Emily or Eleanor. The rehearsal dinner began at 7. Emily worked quietly in the background, helping the staff serve the 5-course meal. From her spot near the kitchen doors, she could see Robert at the head table beside Victoria, her engagement ring sparkling under the chandelier. Halfway through the main course, Julia's phone rang. She stepped aside to answer, and Emily saw her expression fall as she listened. When Julia hung up, she rushed to Victoria's side and whispered something in her ear. What do you mean she has laryngitis? Victoria's voice rose above the chatter. The wedding is in 2 days. Guests turned to look as her perfect composure slipped. I'm sorry, Miss Hale, Julia said quickly. She called from the doctor's office. She can't speak, let alone sing. This is a disaster, Victoria said sharply. What are we supposed to do about our first dance? The song was arranged especially for her voice. Robert placed his hand over hers. It's all right. We can use a recording instead. It's not the same, Victoria snapped. At that moment, Margaret Adams, seated beside Robert, leaned forward. You know, she said thoughtfully, I remember hearing someone with a lovely voice at your house recently. Who? Robert asked. Your maid, Emily. I heard her singing in the garden one morning while she was hanging laundry. She has a beautiful voice. Emily, who was replacing water glasses nearby, froze when she heard her name. Victoria's expression shifted from irritation to calculation. Emily. Our Emily. Yes, Margaret continued. It was quite impressive. Such natural talent. Victoria's gaze found Emily across the room, and a slow smile spread across her face. How interesting, she murmured. I had no idea. After dinner, Emily noticed Victoria pull Julia aside into a small alcove off the main dining room. Their conversation looked tense, with Victoria doing most of the talking and Julia repeatedly shaking her head. I don't think that's a good idea, Julia said, just loud enough for Emily to hear as she cleared nearby plates. I'm not asking for your opinion, Victoria replied. Just make it happen. When Julia walked away, her discomfort was obvious. She met Emily's eyes briefly before turning away. A moment later, Michael Grant, Robert's best friend and business partner, approached Emily as she worked. You're Emily, right? He asked quietly. Yes, sir. How are you feeling? Should you be on your feet this much? Emily was surprised by his concern. I'm fine. I need the hours. Michael nodded and lowered his voice. Be careful around Victoria. Something feels off. Before Emily could respond, he moved away, joining Robert, who was speaking with other guests. From across the room, Emily saw the two men talk briefly. Robert smiled and clapped Michael on the shoulder, as if dismissing whatever warning had been given. Later that night, back at the Adams estate, Emily counted her tips from the evening. The extra money would help with the baby's expenses, but she was still far from affording the crib she had seen at the store. 6 more shifts like tonight, she murmured to herself. A knock on the door interrupted her. Anthony stood there holding a plate with leftover dessert. You missed the chocolate cake, he said, handing it to her. It's really good. Thanks, Anthony. Emily accepted it gratefully. But Anthony didn't leave. He stepped inside and partially closed the door. I saw Victoria talking with her bridesmaids tonight, he said. They were looking at you and laughing. I don't like it. Emily sighed. She probably just thinks it's funny that a pregnant maid works for her. No, Anthony said. It was more than that. They kept mentioning some kind of special surprise for the wedding, and looking right at you. Be careful, Emily. Emily thought back to Victoria's phone call and her reaction to Margaret's comment about the singing. Do you think it has something to do with the wedding singer getting sick? She asked. Anthony's eyes widened slightly. What do you mean? Robert's mother said she heard me sing once, and Victoria got this strange look on her face. That doesn't sound good, Anthony said. Victoria doesn't do nice things for people like us. Whatever she's planning, it's not to help you. Emily nodded, remembering Michael's warning too. I'll be careful. The next morning, Emily was washing breakfast dishes when Victoria walked into the kitchen. It was unusual to see her there, she usually avoided the staff areas. "Good morning, Emily," Victoria said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good morning, Miss Hale," Emily replied cautiously. Victoria leaned casually against the counter. "I hear you have a beautiful voice." Emily nearly dropped the plate she was holding. I used to sing a little." "How modest." Victoria studied her closely. "You know, our wedding singer has fallen ill. Such terrible timing." "I heard. I'm sorry about that." "Well, these things happen," Victoria said, waving a manicured hand. "I was thinking, maybe you could help us out if needed." Emily turned, startled. "Me? Sing at your wedding?" "Just as a backup plan, of course," Victoria said smoothly. "We're trying to find a professional replacement, but on such short notice," she let the sentence hang. "I don't know, Miss Hale. I haven't performed in a long time. But you could if necessary, right? It would mean so much to Robert. He's been so kind to you during your situation." Victoria's gaze dropped to Emily's pregnant belly. Emily hesitated. Robert had indeed been kind to her, and if she could repay that kindness somehow? "I suppose I could, if you really need me to," she said quietly. "Wonderful." Victoria's smile widened. "Let's hope we find a replacement and don't need to bother you," Victoria said with a faint smile. "But it's good to know we have a backup plan." After she left, Emily called her friend Lauren from Austin. "She asked me to sing at her wedding," Emily explained. "It's strange, she's never been nice to me before." "Maybe she's finally seeing you as a person, not just the help," Lauren suggested. "Maybe," Emily said, though she doubted it. "Still, it might be a chance to sing again. If I do well, Robert might recommend me to someone in the industry." "Be careful," Lauren warned. "It's too convenient that their singer got sick right after his mother mentioned your voice." Throughout the day, Emily noticed Julia's uneasy glances whenever they crossed paths. Once, she caught Victoria whispering with her bridesmaids, all of them glancing her way and laughing. As the final preparations unfolded, Emily's unease grew, but a small part of her hoped this might be her moment to sing again, to be seen as more than a pregnant maid. That evening, while preparing guest rooms, Emily overheard Victoria talking to Julia in the hallway. "Everything is set just like we discussed. Tomorrow will be unforgettable for everyone." When Julia walked away, her troubled expression met Emily's eyes. That look of pity chilled her. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Emily barely slept that night. When her alarm showed 5 in the morning, she gave up and began dressing for the wedding day. The baby kicked as she tied her apron over her round belly. "It's going to be a long day for both of us," she whispered. By 6 o'clock, the Riverside Country Club was buzzing with activity. Florists carried white roses through the grand entrance. Caterers wheeled in carts of food, photographers tested lighting, and Emily joined the kitchen staff, unpacking dishes and arranging silverware. Her back throbbed with each movement, but she focused on the overtime pay, each hour bringing her closer to affording the crib. "You shouldn't be carrying those," Anthony said, taking a stack of plates from her hands. "Here, I made a spot for you." He led her to a small corner with a chair and table. "You can fold napkins sitting down, no one will know the difference." "Thank you, Anthony," Emily smiled. $200 for today's work, right?" he asked. $250 if I stay through cleanup," she said. "That's almost half the cost of the crib." Around 10, Robert appeared in the doorway, dressed casually, surprisingly informal for a groom only hours away from his wedding. His eyes found Emily. "Good morning," he said gently. "How are you feeling?" "I'm fine, Mr. Adams," she replied, still folding napkins. "You look tired," he said with concern. "Are you sure you should be working? That's a lot of hours on your feet." "I need the money," Emily said simply. Robert nodded. "Take breaks when you can. And if you need to leave early, that's fine." As he turned to leave, Emily asked lightly, "Aren't you supposed to be getting ready?" Robert paused and smiled faintly. "Yes, I suppose I am. Big day." Emily watched him go, surprised at his lack of excitement. By noon, the energy inside the venue had doubled. Victoria arrived with her 6 bridesmaids, instantly taking control of the bridal suite. Her voice echoed down the hall. "These flowers are the wrong shade of white," she snapped at a florist. "They look cheap." Fix it now. Emily stayed away from the suite, helping instead to prepare the reception area. The ballroom shimmered with white flowers, crystal chandeliers, and neatly arranged tables of fine china. A stage stood at one end, where musicians tuned their instruments. At 1 o'clock, Emily spotted Michael Grant standing alone on the balcony overlooking the water. She passed quietly with a tray of glasses, trying not to draw attention. "He doesn't want to go through with it, you know," Michael said suddenly. "Excuse me?" Emily asked. "Robert, he's been having doubts for weeks." "I shouldn't hear this, Mr. Grant." "Probably not," he said, "but sometimes outsiders see things clearer than those involved." Before Emily could reply, Julia rushed over. "There you are," she said to Michael. "The photographer needs you for pictures." As he left, Julia's eyes briefly met Emily's again, another flash of pity. By 3 o'clock, guests began arriving in sleek cars. Women in designer dresses and men in tailored suits filled the venue. Emily retreated further into the background, serving when needed but keeping to the shadows. During a quick break, she called her mother. "How's the wedding?" her mother asked. "Expensive," Emily said. "Everything here probably costs more than our house." Her mother laughed softly. "And how are you feeling, sweetheart? Is the baby active?" "Yes, especially when I'm trying to rest. I think she'll be a dancer." "Just like her mama," her mother said fondly. After the call, Emily returned to work. The ceremony was set for 4. She peeked from a side door as it began. Robert stood at the altar, handsome yet strangely distant. When Victoria appeared in her extravagant gown, worth more than Emily would earn in a year, the guests murmured in awe. The ceremony was brief. In half an hour, Robert and Victoria were declared husband and wife. The crowd applauded as they walked down the aisle together, Victoria glowing, Robert smiling politely. As the reception began, Emily's work intensified. She served drinks, cleared plates, ignored the ache in her feet and back. During dinner, a young woman sang with the band, the replacement singer. Her voice was pleasant but ordinary. Emily noticed Victoria watching with dissatisfaction. Margaret Adams, seated at the head table, caught Emily's eye and beckoned her closer. "You should sit down for a bit," she said kindly. "You look exhausted." "I'm fine, Mrs. Adams. At least take short breaks. That baby is more important than perfect service." As Emily walked away, she passed Michael, who was watching Victoria whisper with her bridesmaids. They glanced at Emily and giggled behind their hands. By 8, dinner was over and the band announced the first dance. Robert led Victoria to the center of the ballroom as guests gathered around. Before the music started, Victoria hurried to Julia, whispering urgently. Julia spoke with the band, who looked confused and shook their heads. Victoria's expression hardened before she forced on a bright smile and strode toward the kitchen, straight toward Emily, who was stacking dishes. "Emily!" Victoria called out, her voice higher than usual. "Thank goodness you're here. We have an emergency." Emily looked up, startled. "What's wrong?" "The singer," Victoria said, placing a dramatic hand on Emily's arm. "She doesn't know our first dance song. There's been a terrible miscommunication." "I'm sorry to hear that," Emily replied carefully. "I need your help," Victoria continued, her wide eyes full of false sincerity. "Mrs. Adams mentioned you have a beautiful voice. Could you possibly sing for our first dance? It would mean so much to Robert." Emily froze, alarm bells ringing in her head. "I don't know the song either." "It's a simple ballad," Victoria insisted. "The band already knows it, you just have to sing the words." She pulled a folded sheet of paper from her dress. "Here are the lyrics." Emily glanced at the paper, then at Anthony, who stood nearby, his face full of warning. "I don't think I can," she said. "I haven't performed in years." "Please," Victoria pressed, her tone soft and sweet. "Robert has been so kind to you. This would be a lovely way to thank him." Emily hesitated. Robert had indeed been kind. He'd offered her a job when she had nowhere else to go and had adjusted her work as her pregnancy advanced. "Just one song?" "Just one," Victoria confirmed, her smile widening. "Julia will take you to the stage. You'll have 5 minutes to review the lyrics." Before Emily could think twice, Julia appeared beside her. "Come with me," the planner said quietly. As they moved through the back corridors, Emily studied the lyrics. The song was unfamiliar, a ballad about eternal love and devotion. Simple, but something still felt off. "Will I have time to practice with the band?" she asked. Julia didn't answer. "Is there even a microphone set up for me?" "It'll be fine," Julia said, avoiding her gaze. When they reached the ballroom, Emily saw the musicians whispering among themselves, shuffling through sheets of music. The violinist shrugged helplessly at the pianist. Across the room, Victoria watched with a smile of pure satisfaction, sharing a triumphant look with her bridesmaids. A cold realization hit Emily: this wasn't a favor. It was a setup. "Wait," Emily said, stopping. "Something's wrong. The band isn't ready for me." Julia finally met her eyes, guilt written all over her face. "I'm sorry. I tried to talk her out of it, but she wouldn't listen." "Talk her out of what? What's happening?" Before Julia could answer, Victoria grabbed the microphone from the bandleader. The music stopped, and about 300 guests turned toward the stage. "Everyone," Victoria announced brightly, her voice ringing across the ballroom. "We have a special treat tonight. Our maid thinks she can sing for us." Emily felt the blood drain from her face as hundreds of eyes turned her way. She stood frozen near the stage, still in her black uniform, her pregnant belly impossible to hide. Some guests looked confused, others chuckled. A few bridesmaids giggled openly. "Go on," Julia whispered. "I'm so sorry. I can't do this, she set me up," Emily said, stepping back. But 2 security guards moved to block her path. "Mrs. Adams requested that you remain for your performance," one said flatly. "This is insane," Emily protested. "Please welcome Emily Carter," Victoria said sweetly into the mic. "She'll be singing for our first dance." "Isn't that special?" A wave of uneasy murmurs spread through the room. Some clapped politely, others whispered, "Who does this pregnant maid think she is?" Trapped, Emily walked slowly onto the stage. Her knees shook, her heart pounded, and the baby kicked from the stress. The bright stage lights blinded her. There was no stand for lyrics, no proper microphone setup, nothing professional about it. Victoria leaned in, handing her the mic. "Try not to embarrass yourself too much," she whispered before stepping aside to join Robert, who had just entered the ballroom looking bewildered. Emily stood alone before 300 of Chicago's elite. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "She's going to sing? The maid? Is this some kind of joke? Poor thing looks terrified." From the kitchen doorway, Emily spotted Anthony watching anxiously. Margaret Adams sat stiffly, her expression troubled. Michael Grant stood near the back, his arms crossed as he observed the scene. The bandleader approached hesitantly. "What song are you singing, miss? We don't have any sheet music." Emily looked at the paper trembling in her hands. The melody was complex, full of high notes she hadn't reached in years, clearly chosen to make her fail. She made a choice. "I'll sing something else," she told the bandleader. "A song I wrote. Just a slow 4-beat rhythm." The man nodded and gave quiet instructions to the musicians. Emily closed her eyes and steadied her breathing. She thought of her journey, from a hopeful singer in Austin to a maid fighting humiliation. She thought of her unborn daughter, who would one day hear this story. The drummer began a slow rhythm. Emily opened her eyes. "This song is called Rise from the Ashes," she said softly into the microphone. Her voice began fragile but filled with emotion. "When your dreams turn to dust and the music goes silent. When the one that you trust leaves you broken and crying." Her tone grew stronger, full of power and pain. "Sometimes you fall so you can rise higher? From the ashes of it all? Find your hidden fire." The ballroom fell silent. Waiters froze mid-step, guests leaned forward, captivated. The pianist added gentle chords, the violinist joined in. Robert, standing in the back, watched in awe as Emily's voice filled every corner of the room. She was no longer invisible, she commanded the stage. Victoria's smile vanished. Her face darkened as she realized her plan had backfired. As Emily reached the final chorus, her voice soared. "I will rise from the ashes stronger than before. I will rise from the ashes, and I won't fall anymore." When she finished, silence lingered for 3 long seconds. Then applause erupted. Guests stood, clapping and cheering. One woman wiped away tears. Emily stood motionless, stunned. She had expected ridicule, not admiration. For a fleeting moment, she felt like her old self again, the singer who once dreamed of Austin stages. The moment shattered when Victoria stormed forward, snatching the microphone from her hands. "Wasn't that cute?" she said with forced sweetness. "Now back to the kitchen where you belong." An uncomfortable silence swept the room. Murmurs spread as guests exchanged uneasy glances. Emily felt the sting but held her head high. With as much dignity as she could muster, she stepped back from the microphone, desperate to leave the stage and the hundreds of eyes still watching her. In her rush, Emily didn't see the puddle of water left on the stage from dinner service. Her heel slipped, and she fell hard, landing on her side with a sharp cry of pain. Instinctively, she wrapped her arms around her belly as the crowd gasped. Robert immediately pushed through the guests and ran to the stage. "Emily," he called, his voice full of concern. "Are you all right?" Victoria remained by the microphone, her tone icy. "Robert, we need to start our first dance. The staff can handle this." Ignoring her, Robert climbed onto the stage and knelt beside Emily. "Are you hurt? Is the baby okay?" "I think so," Emily said, wincing. "I just need a minute." Michael was already there, phone in hand. "I'm calling for medical help. Don't move." From the kitchen, Anthony appeared with a towel and a glass of water. "Breathe slowly," he said gently. "Don't try to get up yet." "Robert, everyone's waiting." Victoria's voice rose. "This is our wedding." The entire ballroom watched as Robert ignored his new bride completely, helping Emily sit up with steady, caring hands. "Can someone get a chair?" he called. 2 waiters rushed forward. Emily managed to stand with his help and sat down, still cradling her belly. "I'm so sorry this happened," Robert said quietly. "I had no idea." Victoria stormed across the stage, her white gown sweeping behind her. "This is ridiculous. You're leaving me standing here, for the help." The room went still. Her words revealed more than she realized. Robert straightened, his face hardening. "That's enough, Victoria," he said calmly but firmly. "This is our wedding, she's ruining everything," she hissed. Before he could respond, Anthony stepped forward, holding up his phone. "I think everyone should hear what really happened tonight." "What do you think you're doing?" Victoria demanded. "Showing everyone the truth," Anthony said evenly. He tapped his phone, and her recorded voice echoed through the ballroom. "I can't wait to see that pregnant nobody make a fool of herself. I told security not to let her leave the stage. It'll put her back in her place." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests exchanged shocked looks. The recording continued. "Robert will never know I set her up. He'll just think she embarrassed herself trying to get attention." Victoria's face drained of color. "That's taken out of context. He edited that." "I recorded it this morning," Anthony said calmly. "You were bragging about your plan to your bridesmaids." Robert stood frozen, with fury and disappointment in his eyes. Margaret stepped closer, her expression filled with sorrow. "Is this true, Victoria?" "Of course not, it's fake." Victoria grabbed Robert's arm. "You can't believe the staff over your own wife." Emily sat quietly, pain radiating through her side, one hand over her stomach. Robert gently removed Victoria's hand from his arm, then slowly slid off his wedding ring. Silence swept through the ballroom. "What are you doing?" Victoria whispered. "This marriage is over," Robert said clearly. "It was a mistake, and thankfully, a short one." "You can't be serious, over a maid," she shouted. "This isn't about Emily," Robert replied. "It's about who you are, and who I refuse to see." He turned toward the stunned guests. "I apologize to everyone. The reception is over. Please understand, this is for the best." Michael appeared with a hotel security officer. "Paramedics are on their way. They'll be here in about 5 minutes." "Thank you," Robert said, turning back to Emily. "How are you feeling?" "The pain's getting worse," she admitted. "I'm worried about the baby." At that moment, Victoria's parents hurried to her side. Her father glared at Robert. "You can't just end a marriage like this. There are legal procedures." "We'll discuss that tomorrow," Robert said firmly. "Right now, I'm worried about Emily's health." Victoria burst into tears, her perfect bride image crumbling. "This is so humiliating. How could you do this to me on our wedding day?" Margaret's voice cut through her sobs. "How could you do this to another human being? That young woman is pregnant, and you deliberately set her up." Guests began to whisper as they gathered their things. Some looked embarrassed, others curious. The paramedics arrived, pushing a stretcher through the thinning crowd. "How far along are you?" one asked as they examined Emily. 6 months, she answered. "Any bleeding or fluid leakage?" "No, just pain on my right side." They lifted her carefully onto the stretcher. "We'll take you to Chicago Central Hospital. Probably just bruising, but we won't risk it." "I'd like to go with her," Robert said. "Are you family?" a paramedic asked. Before he could answer, Victoria screamed, "He's my husband. He's not going anywhere with her." Robert turned to her one last time. "No, I'm not. The papers haven't been filed, and they never will be." He looked at the paramedics. "I'm her employer, I feel responsible." "That's fine, sir. You can follow us in your car," one replied. As they wheeled Emily toward the exit, Anthony walked beside her. "I'll pack your things," he said quietly. "You shouldn't go back there while she's still around." "Thank you," Emily whispered, tears welling up. "I'm sorry about all this." "Don't apologize," Anthony said firmly. "You did nothing wrong, and your voice was incredible." Margaret joined them. "I'll make sure your belongings are safe and check on you tomorrow," she promised. As the stretcher was lifted into the ambulance, Emily caught one last glimpse of Victoria through the ballroom doors, still in her wedding dress, surrounded by her parents and bridesmaids, the perfect wedding in ruins. Robert spoke briefly with Michael, then headed for his car. As he passed Victoria, she shouted after him, "You're choosing the help over your wife." Her voice rose in disbelief. "You're choosing her over me?" Robert paused. "You were never my wife. The marriage ended before it began." He walked away, adding coldly, "Just like your reputation in this city after tonight." The ride to Chicago Central Hospital was silent. Emily lay on the stretcher, answering the paramedics' questions while fear gnawed at her. She had lost both her job and her home in a single night. Even if the baby was fine, what would happen next? At the hospital, doctors immediately took her for an ultrasound while Robert waited outside, still wearing his wedding tuxedo. Nurses passing by gave him curious glances, but he ignored them, messaging Michael on his phone. After half an hour, a doctor appeared. "Mr. Adams?" "Yes," Robert said, standing quickly. "How is she? Is the baby all right?" "Both mother and baby are fine," the doctor assured him. "She experienced Braxton Hicks contractions caused by stress and the fall. Some bruising on her hip, but no sign of complications. We'll keep her for observation." Relief crossed Robert's face. "Can I see her?" "She's asking for you," the doctor said. Robert entered the room to find Emily in bed, a monitor tracking the baby's steady heartbeat. "The baby's fine," she said at once, reading the concern in his eyes. "The doctor told me," Robert replied, sitting beside her. "How are you feeling?" "Sore. Embarrassed. Worried about what happens next." She hesitated. "I'm sorry about your wedding." "Don't apologize," he said softly. "I should be thanking you." "For what?" "For showing me who Victoria really is, before it was too late." He ran a hand through his hair. "Michael tried to warn me, but I didn't listen." They sat quietly for a moment, the baby's heartbeat filling the room. "Your voice is incredible," Robert said finally. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" "I've been singing since I was little," Emily said. "I studied music in college and performed in Austin for 5 years, before the baby's father left." "Jason?" She nodded. "He didn't want a child. When I told him I was pregnant, he disappeared the next day." "I'm sorry," Robert said gently. "It's all right. I've made peace with it." A nurse came in to check her vitals. Glancing at Robert's tuxedo, she asked, "Special occasion?" Robert and Emily exchanged a tired smile. "You could say that," he replied. After she left, his phone buzzed. "Michael handled everything at the venue," he told Emily. "My mother's staying at the house tonight to make sure Victoria removes her things. Anthony's packing yours." "Where will I go?" Emily asked quietly. "You don't have to worry about that tonight," Robert said. "Rest and focus on the baby. We'll figure things out tomorrow." Exhaustion overcame her. As she drifted off, she heard Robert murmur, "That song you wrote, Rise from the Ashes, it's remarkable. The world should hear it." When Emily woke, sunlight filtered through the blinds. For a second she didn't remember where she was, then everything came rushing back, the wedding, the fall, the song, and Robert ending his marriage minutes after it began. A nurse entered, checked the monitor, and smiled. "Good morning. How are you feeling?" "Better," Emily said. "Is the baby still all right?" "Strong heartbeat, normal movement. The doctor will be in soon." "You have visitors waiting, shall I send them in?" Before Emily could answer, Margaret Adams entered with a small suitcase, followed by Anthony carrying a box. "Oh, my dear," Margaret said, taking Emily's hand. "How are you feeling?" "I'm okay. The baby's fine," Emily said. "I packed everything from your room," Anthony added. "Victoria was still there when I left, but she was packing too." "What happened after I left?" Emily asked. "Chaos," Margaret said with a sigh. "Michael told everyone the reception was cancelled for medical reasons. Most guests left quickly. Victoria's parents tried to talk Robert into reconsidering, but he refused. The marriage is over." Anthony nodded. "That recording's everywhere now. 3 guests already asked me for copies." "I never meant to cause trouble," Emily whispered. "You didn't," Margaret said firmly. "Victoria did this to herself." The door opened again, Robert entered, now in jeans and a button-down, holding coffee cups. "I thought you might need this," he said, handing drinks to Margaret and Anthony. To Emily, he offered tea. The nurse said this was allowed. "Thank you," Emily murmured, taking the cup. Their fingers brushed, and she quickly looked away. "I spoke with your doctor," Robert said. "You'll be discharged this afternoon if everything stays stable." "That's good," Emily said, though worry crept into her eyes. "I need to find a place to stay and another job." "Actually," Robert said, "you don't need to worry about that yet." "What do you mean?" "I have a guest house on my property, separate from the main house. You're welcome to stay there until you decide what's next." "I can't accept that. It's too much." "Consider it part of your severance package," he said with a faint smile. "Besides, I have a business proposition." Before Emily could reply, a doctor entered with a clipboard. "Miss Carter, let's check on you and the baby." Margaret, Anthony, and Robert stepped out into the hallway. Outside, Robert answered a call from Michael. "How bad is it?" "No, I don't regret it." "Yes, have my lawyer call me. Thanks for handling everything." When he hung up, Margaret asked, "Is everything all right?" "Victoria's family is threatening legal action," Robert said. "And there are already stories online. But I'm not worried. The truth is on our side, thanks to your recording," he added to Anthony. Inside, the doctor smiled. "Everything looks good, Miss Carter. You and the baby are healthy. Just rest for a few days, no heavy lifting or standing too long." "When can I work again?" Emily asked. "Light duties after a week," the doctor said before leaving. When the others returned, Emily looked at Robert. "What was that business proposition?" Robert pulled up a chair. "Your song last night was extraordinary, not just the performance, but the writing. I have connections in the music industry through my company's entertainment clients. I'd like to introduce you to producers who can help record it professionally." Emily stared at him. "You want to help me with my music?" "It's not charity," Robert said. "It's a business offer. If your song succeeds, we both benefit." "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," Margaret urged. "Robert never makes business offers unless he truly believes in them." Anthony nodded. "Your voice moved everyone in that room, Emily. Even those who came to laugh ended up crying." Emily twisted the small silver ring on her finger, a nervous habit since childhood, and for the first time in months, allowed herself to hope. "But I'm going to have a baby in 3 months. I can't exactly start a music career right now." "That's why the guest house is perfect," Robert explained. "You can rest during your last trimester, record demos when you feel up to it, and we'll make plans for after the baby comes." As they discussed the details, a nurse entered with discharge papers. While Emily signed them, Robert's phone kept buzzing. "Is that about the wedding?" she asked. "Partly," Robert replied, checking his screen. "Victoria's bridesmaids are posting pictures, claiming we had a secret affair. Fortunately, the recording's everywhere now, it's shutting down their lies." "I'm so sorry this is hurting your reputation," Emily said quietly. "Don't worry about that," Robert answered. "My company's fine. The people who matter know the truth." Once the paperwork was done, an aide arrived with a wheelchair. Despite Emily's protests that she could walk, hospital policy required it. As they rolled toward the exit, she noticed a photographer across the street. "Someone's taking pictures of us," she murmured. "Ignore them," Robert said, helping her into his car. "The story will fade soon enough." During the ride to his Chicago estate, Emily stared out the window, overwhelmed. "Yesterday, I was your maid," she said softly. "Today you're offering to help me build a music career." "Life changes quickly sometimes," Robert replied. He drove past the main entrance to a tree-lined path leading to a small guest house built in the same Spanish style as his mansion. "This is the guest house?" Emily asked. "It's been empty since my sister moved out," Robert said. "Anthony brought your things earlier and stocked the kitchen." Inside, Emily found a cozy, sunlit space, comfortable furniture, a small kitchen, and a tidy bedroom with an attached bath. Her few belongings were neatly arranged. "This is too much," she said, turning to him. "You can handle it," Robert said gently. "Consider this a temporary home while we plan your next step." Emily looked out the window at the garden. "Why are you really doing this?" Robert hesitated. "Partly because I feel responsible. Partly because I believe in your talent. And partly because everyone deserves a second chance at their dreams." A knock interrupted them. Margaret entered carrying grocery bags. "I brought some essentials," she said cheerfully. "Ginger tea for nausea, a body pillow, and those creams everyone swears by." Emily smiled. "Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Please, call me Margaret. We're past formalities." As Margaret unpacked, Robert stepped outside to take a call. His tone was firm. "No, I won't meet with her. The recording speaks for itself. I understand the legal side." When he came back in, his expression was tight. "Victoria's family wants a settlement to silence the scandal. Will you agree?" Emily asked. "No," he said. "I have nothing to hide. Anthony's recording already reached most guests, her version isn't convincing anyone." Margaret stood. "I should go. Emily needs rest, and you have calls to make." She kissed Emily's cheek. "I'll visit tomorrow." After she left, Robert and Emily sat in a brief, awkward silence. "I should go too," Robert said. "You must be tired. What happens now? With your music contacts, I mean." "I'll start making calls tomorrow," he replied. "There's a producer named Sam Jackson who might love your sound." He stood. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow we start planning your future." "Thank you for everything," Emily said softly. "Thank you for that song," Robert replied. "It changed more than you know." That night, Emily sat alone in the quiet guest house, her hand resting on her belly. "Well, baby," she whispered, "our life just changed in ways I never imagined." Over the next 2 months, her world transformed. The guest house became her sanctuary. Robert helped convert part of it into a small recording room with soundproofing and basic equipment. "Sam Jackson's coming tomorrow," Robert said one morning as he adjusted a microphone stand. Emily rested a hand on her now large belly. "I'm nervous. I haven't sung professionally in years." "He had heard your recording from the wedding," Robert reassured her. "He already knows you're talented." The meeting went better than Emily imagined. Sam, a tall man with gray dreadlocks and decades of experience, listened intently as she sang Rise from the Ashes while Robert recorded. When she finished, Sam grinned. "That's something special, raw, honest, powerful. We can work with this." Over the following weeks, Emily recorded demos while Sam brought in studio musicians. Despite being 8 months pregnant, she felt energized and alive again. Meanwhile, Victoria's attempts to ruin Robert's name failed. The leaked recording had spread through Chicago's social circles, and guests publicly sided with him. Her family's foundation just lost 3 major donors, Michael said during a visit. They convinced her to move back to New York. "Good," Robert replied. "Maybe she can rebuild her life there." Emily stayed out of the drama, focusing on her music and preparing for her baby. Margaret visited almost every day, bringing baby clothes and advice. Early one Tuesday morning, Emily called Robert, her voice shaky. "My water just broke. I think the baby's coming." He arrived within minutes. "I'll drive you to the hospital." "My bag's by the door," she said, breathing through contractions. At Chicago Central Hospital, labor progressed quickly. Robert called Margaret, Anthony, and Michael, who waited outside. "You don't have to stay," Emily told him between contractions. "This could take hours." I'm not going anywhere, he said, surprising them both. 6 hours later, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby girl weighing 7 pounds, 4 ounces. She's beautiful, the nurse said, laying the baby on Emily's chest. Do you have a name? Emily smiled through tears. Lily. Lily Carter. Later, when she had rested, Robert entered with Margaret, Anthony, and Michael. She's perfect, Margaret whispered, touching Lily's tiny hand. Anthony wiped away a tear. Like a little angel. Michael placed a gift bag by the bed. From all of us, baby essentials. Robert stood a few steps away, watching Emily hold her daughter with quiet wonder. Something inside him shifted, something he wasn't ready to name. When the others went for coffee, he sat beside her. Thank you for being here, Emily said softly. I never expected to have anyone with me for this. I wouldn't have missed it, Robert said with a smile. His phone buzzed with a message. It's from Sam. He's been working on your recording while you've been here. Emily adjusted baby Lily in her arms. What does he say? The label loves your song, Robert replied, showing her the screen. They want to release it as a single. Sam says it has real hit potential. Emily blinked in disbelief. Everything's happening so fast. 2 months ago, I was your maid, and now I have a baby and maybe a career. Life changes quickly sometimes, Robert said, echoing his earlier words. During Emily's recovery in the hospital, Sam sent updates daily. Studio musicians had added soft piano and strings, giving her voice a gentle, emotional depth. Listen to this, Robert said on her third day, holding out his phone. Emily closed her eyes as the music played. When the song ended, she opened them again, tears in her eyes. It's beautiful, she whispered. I never imagined it could sound like that. Sam wants you to record final vocals next week, Robert said. He can set everything up at the guest house so you won't need to travel. A week after Lily's birth, Emily and the baby returned home. Robert had hired a part-time nurse to help, giving Emily time to rest and work. Sam arrived with recording equipment. Just you and the mic, he said. Keep the baby monitor next to you so you can hear Lily. Between nursing Lily and changing diapers, Emily recorded Rise from the Ashes one final time. Her voice, softened by motherhood, carried even more emotion than before. That's it, Sam said when she finished. We've got everything. The label wants to release it in 2 weeks. So soon? Emily asked. They're excited about your story, Sam said. A singer humiliated at a millionaire's wedding who rises again, while raising a baby. It's powerful. I don't want to be marketed as a victim, Emily said firmly. Don't worry, Robert assured her. They're focusing on your strength and talent, not the scandal. As the release approached, Emily grew anxious. One evening, as Robert helped assemble Lily's crib, she admitted, what if people only listen because of the wedding story? What if they don't really like the song? The song stands on its own, Robert said, tightening a screw. Even if curiosity brings them in, your voice will make them stay. Emily lifted Lily when the baby began to fuss. I want her to be proud of me, not just as her mom, but as someone who chased her dreams. She will be proud, Robert said softly. The day Rise from the Ashes was released, Emily sat feeding Lily while Robert checked his laptop. It's been streamed over 1,000 times already, he said. The comments are incredible. Within days, radio stations across the country picked up the song. Blogs called Emily's voice haunting and authentic. Your song just hit number 25 on Billboard, Sam said excitedly over the phone 10 days later. That's huge for a debut. 2 weeks later, it climbed to number 3. During a small dinner at the guest house, Michael raised a glass. You've made it, Emily. She smiled at the people around her, Robert, Margaret, Anthony, Michael, and Sam, and at Lily sleeping nearby. I couldn't have done this without all of you. Later, after everyone left, Emily joined Robert on the patio under the stars. Thank you for everything, she said. But I think it's time I find my own place. You don't have to leave, Robert said. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. I know, and I'm grateful. But the label offered an advance for a full album. Lily and I need our own space now. Robert nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. Of course. That sounds right. I found a little house in Brookfield, she continued. It's nothing fancy, but it has a yard and a spare room I can turn into a studio. That's perfect for you and Lily, he said. 6 months ago, I was desperate and alone, Emily said softly. Now I have choices. Because you believed in me. I just recognized what was already there, Robert said gently. Your strength, your voice, they were always yours. As they stood quietly, his phone rang. It's my lawyer, he said, stepping away. Emily looked out at the stars, her heart full. When he returned, his face was tense. Everything okay? She asked. That was my lawyer. Victoria's publicist is trying to plant stories about us, claiming we were together before the wedding. Emily sighed. That's absurd. They're trying to save her image, Robert said, slipping his phone into his pocket. But don't worry. My legal team will handle it. 3 weeks later, Emily stood in her new Brookfield home as movers brought in the last boxes. Sunlight spilled across the hardwood floors. Lily, now 3 months old, lay on a playmat cooing happily. This place is perfect, Margaret said, arranging baby clothes. Close enough for visits, but all yours. I never thought I'd have my own home, especially here, Emily said. The doorbell rang. Robert stood there holding a potted plant and a small gift. Housewarming presents, he said. The plant's easy to care for, perfect for new moms. It's beautiful, Emily said warmly. Robert crouched beside Lily. Hey there, little one. Like your new home? Lily grabbed his finger, making him laugh. While he played with the baby, Emily unwrapped the gift, a framed copy of the Billboard chart showing Rise from the Ashes at number 3. I thought you might want to remember your first hit, Robert said. I still can't believe it's real, Emily said, placing it on the mantel. Sometimes I think I'll wake up back in the mansion doing laundry. Margaret laughed. No chance of that. You're a rising star now. The doorbell rang again. It was Anthony, holding a large pot. Homemade soup, he announced proudly. Announcing for the new homeowner, Anthony said proudly as everyone gathered in Emily's kitchen. Conversation soon turned to Victoria. I heard she's back in New York, Anthony said. Her family pulled some strings to get her a job at their foundation, after trying to ruin my reputation. Robert shook his head. Their plan backfired. Almost every wedding guest reached out to show support. The recording made the truth impossible to deny. No one believes her side anymore, Margaret added. Emily shifted uncomfortably. Sam called this morning. The label wants me to start recording a full album. That's incredible news, Robert said. How do you feel? Excited and terrified, Emily admitted. I never thought I'd get a second chance like this. She glanced at Lily and her bassinet. I'll need childcare while I'm working. I'd be happy to help, Margaret said warmly. I'm already in love with this little one. Later that afternoon, after Margaret and Anthony left, Robert helped Emily set up a small studio in the spare room. Sam's bringing better equipment tomorrow, he said, adjusting a microphone stand. This is already perfect, Emily said, still amazed. Robert paused, watching her sort through sheet music. In the 3 weeks since the wedding, their connection had deepened, no longer employer and employee, but true friends bound by respect and shared experience. How are you really doing? Robert asked. Everything's changed so fast. Sometimes it's overwhelming, Emily said, sitting on the bed. 3 months ago I was struggling to pay rent. Now I have a home and a record deal. You deserve it, Robert said gently. Your voice is extraordinary. Emily blushed. And you? How are you handling everything? Better than I expected, Robert said. The company's fine. People have moved on. And personally? She asked softly. He hesitated. I've realized how close I came to a huge mistake. Victoria and I were never right for each other. I just didn't want to see it. Lily's cries broke the moment. Emily stood and returned with the baby in her arms. Someone's hungry, she said with a smile. I should go, Robert said. I have a meeting with Michael about a new project. More software? Actually, no. I'm thinking about something different, a foundation to support single parents with artistic dreams. Emily's eyes widened. That's amazing. Your journey inspired it, Robert admitted. There are so many talented people who just need a chance. After he left, Emily fed Lily, touched by his words. The idea that her struggle could help others filled her with quiet pride. The next morning, Sam arrived with professional gear and exciting news. The label loves your story, he said. They want to feature Lily in some promo materials, only if you're okay with it. Emily frowned. I don't want to exploit my baby. That's fair, Sam said. But showing your life as a mom chasing her dreams could inspire others. As they set up, Sam introduced her to session musicians. Your song really connected with all of us, said Lisa, a violinist. It feels honest in a way most songs don't. By evening, they'd mapped out 5 songs for the album, with Rise from the Ashes as the centerpiece. Emily felt creative energy she hadn't known since before pregnancy. Recording began the following week. She balanced studio sessions and motherhood, sometimes singing with Lily asleep in her arms. Margaret often helped with the baby while Emily recorded. You sound different now, Sam said during one session. There's more depth in your voice. Motherhood changes everything, Emily replied. During lunch one afternoon, Emily's phone rang from an unknown number. Hello? Emily, it's Jason, said a familiar voice. Her stomach dropped. The man who vanished when she told him she was pregnant. How did you get my number? She asked coldly. I saw you on the news. Your song's everywhere. I heard about the baby. Her name's Lily, Emily said. I'd like to meet her, he said hesitantly. You left the day I told you about her, Emily snapped. You don't get to reappear when it suits you. Lily deserves better. She ended the call, shaking. Sam found her a few minutes later. Everything okay? Lily's father called. Success made him remember I exist. Sam sighed. Funny how fame brings people out of hiding. That evening, Emily told Robert about the call. He technically has rights as her father, Robert said cautiously. But you should speak to a lawyer first. I can't afford a custody fight. You won't have to, Robert assured her. I'll connect you with the best family attorney I know. And don't meet him without legal advice. As they talked, Emily realized how much she depended on Robert, not just for business, but for emotional support. Why are you doing all this for us? She asked softly. Robert looked at her for a long moment. Because I care about you both. And because everyone deserves someone in their corner. The next day in the studio, Emily poured those feelings into her singing. Her voice was raw and powerful, leaving the musicians silent in awe. That was amazing, Sam said. Whatever that emotion is, keep using it. Driving home later, Emily saw a massive billboard on Michigan Avenue, her face above the title Rise from the Ashes. For the first time, she believed her life had truly changed. She was no longer Emily the maid. She was Emily Carter, recording artist, and she was ready for whatever came next. The next morning, she woke to Lily's cries at 5. As she fed her daughter, her phone buzzed. A text from Sam, turn on KBLA radio at 7:30, they're playing your song. 2 hours later, Emily sat in her kitchen with Lily on her lap as the radio host announced, this next song is climbing charts across the nation. From a former maid who stole the spotlight at a millionaire's wedding, here's Emily Carter with Rise from the Ashes. Hearing her own voice on the radio brought tears to her eyes. She hugged Lily close and whispered, that's Mommy singing. Just then, the doorbell rang. Emily opened the door to find Robert standing there with 2 coffee cups and a pink stuffed bear. Did you hear it? He asked excitedly. I did, Emily said, letting him in. It doesn't feel real. Well, this might help, Robert said, pulling out his phone. Your song just broke the top 20 on the national charts. Sam just called. Top 20 already? Emily whispered, stunned. People connect with your story, and your voice, Robert said, handing her a cup. The bear's for Lily. She's finally napping, Emily smiled. These early mornings are rough. You look exhausted, Robert said softly. Are you getting enough help? Margaret stops by most afternoons. Anthony too. I'm managing. You're doing more than managing, Robert said. You're raising a newborn and recording an album. Emily smiled gratefully. How's the situation with Victoria? Robert's expression darkened. Her publicist tried selling stories to tabloids, but once they heard the recording, no one bought them. Her parents convinced her to move back to New York permanently. That's good news, for everyone. Enough about her, Robert said, brightening. Sam told me the label wants to schedule a small industry showcase next month. Nothing big, just a few songs. I don't know if I'm ready to perform live, Emily admitted. And what about Lily? Margaret would happily babysit. It'll only be 2 or 3 songs. Before Emily could respond, her phone rang. It was Sam. "Turn on entertainment tonight. You're on right now." Emily grabbed the remote. The host was speaking over footage of her singing at the wedding, the viral moment that started everything. "The song born from a wedding disaster has become this summer's biggest surprise hit," the host said. Emily Carter, a former maid publicly humiliated at tech millionaire Robert Adams's wedding, has turned that moment into musical gold. Her single Rise from the Ashes just reached number 15 on Billboard and keeps climbing. The report showed fan clips and posts from celebrities praising her voice. "Oh my God," Emily whispered. "It's happening so fast." "Is it too much?" Robert asked gently. "I don't know. Part of me is thrilled, but part of me scared. What if it doesn't last?" "It will," Robert said. "Your talent is real. This isn't just about the wedding anymore." Over the next 2 weeks, Emily's life became a blur of interviews, rehearsals, and caring for Lily. Her song climbed from number 10 to number 5. One evening, while recording vocals, Margaret burst in holding Lily. "Robert just called. Your song hit number 3. "Number 3? Emily gasped. "That's impossible." "It's true, he's bringing champagne." Within the hour, Robert, Margaret, Anthony, and Michael filled her living room. Sam joined by speakerphone. "Number 3 is incredible for a debut artist," Sam said. "The label wants to move the album release up and plan a short tour." "A tour?" Emily looked at Lily. "I can't travel with a baby." "We'll figure it out," Sam said. "Weekend shows, maybe." When the call ended, Robert raised his glass. "To Emily, whose courage and talent brought us here." Everyone toasted. Emily felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude. After the others left, Robert helped her clean up. "The foundation's official," he said, rinsing glasses. "The Robert Adams Foundation for Artistic Parents." "That's a great name," Emily said. "Actually, I wanted to call it the Lily Foundation, if that's okay." She inspired it. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I'd be honored, and so would she." "I'm stepping back from daily operations at my company," Robert said. "Michael's taking over as CEO while I focus on the foundation. I'd like you to serve on the advisory board." "Me? What would I even do?" "Share your experience. Help find talented artists who are also parents. You'd bring perspective we need." As they talked, Emily noticed Robert looking at her differently, a softness in his eyes that made her heart flutter. The moment was broken by a call. She hesitated, then answered. "Is this Emily Carter?" a man's voice asked. "Yes. Who's calling?" "This is Dennis Walker, Jason's father. I understand my son has a child with you." Emily froze. "Yes. A daughter, Lily. Jason said you won't let him see her." "He abandoned me when I told him I was pregnant," Emily said coldly. "He never called once." "Well, he's ready to be involved now," Dennis said. "As Lily's grandfather, I think our family deserves access." "I'll discuss it with my lawyer," Emily said firmly and hung up. "Jason's father?" Robert asked immediately. "They want access to Lily," Emily said, sinking into a chair. "Now that the song's a hit, suddenly he wants to play dad." "Don't worry," Robert said, sitting beside her. "I'll call my attorney tonight. We'll protect you and Lily." "What if they try to take her?" Emily whispered. "They won't. The courts favor the parent who's been there, and that's you." The next morning, Robert's lawyer, Barbara Collins, met with Emily. "From what you've told me, he has no chance at custody," Barbara said. "He may ask for visitation if he proves paternity, but we'll manage it safely." "What should I do?" Emily asked. "Don't speak to him directly. Let me handle everything. Document all contact. You're doing great, and Lily is thriving." Later that afternoon, Sam called again. "The producers of The Voice want you to perform next week." "Next week?" Emily gasped. "I'm not sure I'm ready for TV." "You're ready," Sam insisted. "One song, Rise from the Ashes. Perfect timing." After the call, Emily sat in her garden, watching hummingbirds flutter around the flowers Robert had planted for her. 6 months ago, she'd been pregnant and alone. Now she had a daughter, a hit song, and people who cared. Maybe even someone she was starting to love. Her phone buzzed, a text from Robert, "Just heard about The Voice. Congratulations. Dinner tomorrow, I'll bring food so you don't need a sitter. Emily smiled and typed back, that sounds perfect. Thank you for everything. As she sent the message, Emily realized that despite all the complications, the custody drama with Jason and the constant pressure of her new career, she had never felt more hopeful. For the first time in her life, she was truly rising from the ashes of her past. 6 months passed in a blur of music and motherhood. Emily's appearance on The Voice had skyrocketed her career, pushing her debut album into the top 10 and bringing a flood of live performance offers. Lily, now 9 months old, had grown into a curious baby who squealed with delight whenever music played. One bright spring morning, Emily sat at her kitchen table staring at a thick, official-looking envelope. Inside was an invitation that made her heart race. "Is that what I think it is?" Robert asked as he walked in with a bag of groceries. He'd made a habit of stopping by several times a week, always with food or toys for Lily. Emily nodded. "The Lincoln Theatre wants me to perform next month. A full concert." Robert set the groceries down, his eyes wide. "The Lincoln Theatre? That's incredible, it's legendary." "I know," Emily said, glancing at Lily playing with blocks. "And terrifying. I've never sung for that many people." "How many seats?" "Over 17,000. "You'll be amazing," Robert said, taking her hand. "Your voice belongs on a stage like that." Over the past few months, their bond had grown far beyond friendship. Robert was now a constant part of both Emily's and Lily's lives, helping with career decisions, babysitting when she had interviews, even building a recording studio in her house. "Sam called this morning," Emily said, smiling nervously. "He wants me to add 2 new songs to the set list. Can you write them in time?" "I think so," she said softly. "One of them's about finding love when you least expect it." Their eyes met, and something shifted between them, until Lily's sudden cry broke the moment. As Emily picked up the baby, the doorbell rang. Robert opened the door to find Barbara Collins, Emily's lawyer, looking serious. "I have news about Jason Walker," she said. "He's filed for partial custody of Lily." Emily held her daughter tightly. "He can't do that, he's never even met her." "Unfortunately, he can try," Barbara explained calmly. "But his case was weak. He's claiming he's stable now and wants to be part of her life." "Stable?" Emily said bitterly. "He saw my success and wants access to the money." "What's our next step?" Robert asked. "I've prepared a counterproposal," Barbara said, opening her briefcase. "He can have supervised visits, no overnights until Lily turns 3, and he must pay child support retroactive to her birth." "Will he agree?" Emily asked. "When he sees the financial obligation, he might rethink fatherhood," Barbara said with a dry smile. "Men like Jason usually do." After Barbara left, Emily put Lily down for a nap. When she returned, Robert was looking through her lyrics. "These new songs are beautiful," he said. "Especially this one, Found You." "It's still rough," Emily said, blushing. "It's honest," Robert replied. Then, after a pause, "Emily, what are we doing?" "What do you mean?" "This, us. I'm here almost every day. You and Lily are part of my life. Are we just friends?" Emily's heart pounded. "Are we?" "I don't think so," he said softly. "I've had feelings for you for months, but I didn't want to complicate things while everything was changing." "And now?" "Now I'm done pretending I don't want to be with you. But only if you feel the same." Emily smiled and leaned in, kissing him gently. "I've wanted to do that for a long time," she whispered. "Me too," Robert said, smiling back. The weeks before the Lincoln Theatre concert flew by. Emily balanced rehearsals, songwriting, and motherhood, while Robert supported her at every step, even taking Lily to his house when she needed to focus. 3 days before the concert, Jason showed up unannounced. "I want to see my daughter," he demanded. "You can't just show up," Emily said firmly. "All contact goes through the lawyers." "Come on, we don't need lawyers. We used to love each other," he said, trying to peer past her. "Is that her? Let me see." "No, Jason. Those are the rules." Robert appeared, holding Lily. "So that's it?" Jason sneered. "You've got a rich boyfriend now? That's why you're keeping me away." "You need to leave," Robert said evenly. "Before we call the police." Jason glared at him but backed off. After he left, Emily sank onto the couch. What if he shows up at the concert? What if he tries to take Lily? He won't, Robert said gently. I've already arranged security. Margaret will stay with Lily backstage. On the night of the concert, Emily stood in her dressing room, staring at her reflection. Her stomach twisted with nerves. Through the window, she could see the vast crowd filling the bowl. I can't do this, she whispered. A knock at the door interrupted her panic. Robert stepped in, Lily in his arms. Someone wanted to wish Mommy good luck. Emily hugged her daughter tightly. I'm scared, Robert. You'll be fine, he said with calm certainty. Just sing like you always do, from your heart. When did you get so wise about performing? She teased. I've had a good teacher, he said with a smile. Then his tone softened. I have something to tell you. The Lily Foundation just approved its first 10 grants. Single parents pursuing careers in the arts. You inspired it all. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Really? 10 families now, and more to come, Robert promised. A knock came at the door. 5 minutes, Miss Carter, the stage manager called. Margaret entered to take Lily. We'll be right backstage, she said. You'll be amazing. Left alone with Robert, Emily took a deep breath. Thank you for believing in me, even when I was just your maid. You were never just anything, Robert said, cupping her cheek. You've always been extraordinary. He kissed her softly. Now go show everyone else. Standing backstage in the dark, Emily heard the announcer's voice boomed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emily Carter. She stepped into the spotlight as applause thundered from thousands of people. For a moment, she froze, overwhelmed, until she spotted Robert in the front row, Lily perched on his shoulders, both smiling up at her. Margaret, Anthony, and Michael sat beside them, beaming. Emily stepped to the microphone. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began, her voice steady. A year ago, I was cleaning houses, pregnant, and wondering how I'd pay rent. Now I'm standing here with my daughter, and with hope. Life can change in ways you never expect, Emily said into the microphone before starting her next song. She sang through her entire set, growing more confident with every note. The crowd cheered after each number, and when she began Rise from the Ashes, thousands of people joined in, singing along to her signature hit. Between songs, Emily spoke openly about her journey, her dreams of becoming a singer in Austin, becoming a single mother, and the night that had changed everything. I almost didn't sing that night, she told the audience. I was terrified, afraid of being judged, of being seen as less because I was pregnant and working as a maid. For her final song, she returned once more to Rise from the Ashes. She paused before beginning, gazing out at the sea of faces beneath the glowing lights of the Lincoln Theater. I want to dedicate this to anyone who's ever been told they don't belong on stage, whatever stage that might be in your life, she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. And sometimes the worst moments lead to the best beginnings. As Emily sang the final chorus, the entire amphitheater rose to its feet. The ovation was thunderous. Tears streamed down her face as she bowed, overwhelmed by how far she had come. In the front row, Robert lifted Lily high on his shoulders, pointing toward the stage so the baby could see her mother shining beneath the lights. His chest swelled with pride and love for the woman who had entered his life as an employee but had become so much more, a partner, an inspiration, the missing piece of his family. When the show ended and the crowd began to leave, Robert made his way backstage, still carrying Lily asleep in his arms. You were incredible, he said softly, careful not to wake the baby. I couldn't have done any of this without you, Emily replied, still wiping her tears. Robert shook his head. You would have found your way. Your talent was never meant to stay hidden. He looked down at Lily, then back at Emily. I realized something tonight, watching you shine. Some people come into our lives as employers or employees, but the lucky ones find something far more rare. They find harmony. Emily smiled through her tears and leaned in to kiss him, the noise of the departing crowd fading behind them. Whatever lay ahead, Jason's custody claims, the demands of fame, the challenge of balancing motherhood and music, she knew she would face it all with courage, with her voice, and with the family she had found when she least expected it. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to check out the next one. Don't waste a second, just click on the screen.